I can't believe the front page of the Daily Mail. Well, it's not the front page exactly, but this is what they're leading with on the internet. Have you seen the internet? Oh, the stuff on there.
Disgusting.
Britain is facing up to a bleak end to the year, says the Mail, with a fresh threat of food shortages coming amid an imminent hike in the cost of living of around £1,500 a year. What? You're kidding. A lack of lorry drivers in recent weeks, along with the effects of the ping-demic in recent months, has seen supermarket shelves left bare. I think they missed something out there. There's a little detail they missed something right in the middle of that. You've got the ping-demic, yes, that's right. And then the lorry drivers, yeah, okay, got that. Anything else? The food supply chain is up against a new challenge, apparently, after soaring gas prices forced much of the country's commercial production of carbon dioxide to shut down. Carbon dioxide? Who cares? It's not like it's fundamental. In other news, the industry describes that carbon dioxide is actually fundamental to producing and transporting supermarket staples like bread and meat, as well as beer and fizzy drinks.
Oh, no.
I mean, I don't mind going without bread, and I don't mind missing meat, and I can take or leave fizzy drinks. But no beer. Some fear businesses will have less than 2 weeks before their stocks of CO2 begin to run out, says the Mail, with one boss describing the crisis as a black swan type event. What's a black swan type event? Well, I've done my homework. I actually looked it up. Can you believe that?
No.
A black swan is an unpredictable event that is beyond what is normally expected of a situation and has potentially severe consequences. Black swan events are characterised by their extreme rarity, severe impact, and the widespread insistence that they were obvious in hindsight. Obvious in hindsight? How about obvious all along? I don't like saying I told you so, but I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. Meanwhile, the government is being urged by meat producers to step in and protect the food supply chain after the sharp rise in gas prices resulted in a cut in the supply of carbon dioxide to the industry. See, this is how it's a what now? This is how world wars are going to be fought in the future. It's not going to be people digging trenches and taking pot shots at each other, and it's not going to be people sitting in tanks blasting chunks out of the scenery. There's going to be some kid with a laptop in some secret room in Russia or China who's going to switch off our electricity. Game over. The government is being urged by meat producers to step in and protect the food supply. As well as essentials like food and drink, there have also been reports of shortages of toys ahead of Christmas. And ties, as in what workers wear, or used to before they sat around all day in their gym jams. Ties. We've got a shortage of ties, apparently. And the price of used cars has skyrocketed to the extent that they now cost more than new ones. Wow, the whole world's gone insane. Second-hand cars cost more than new ones. Well, I'll go to the foot of our stairs. It's all going very well. Who could have predicted that voting a clown into office would bring us a circus?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
The lack of supply in many sectors comes against a backdrop of rising bills for millions of families, says the Mail, many of whom will still be feeling the brutal effects of the pandemic on the economy. Experts warn that household costs could collectively soar by more than 125 quid a month. Whoa. That's putting Britons on the cusp of the biggest spending squeeze in nearly a decade. Well, this sounds great. Sounds to me like more winning. Seriously, are you tired of all this winning yet? Money experts said a perfect storm of price hikes and tax hikes could push family finances to the limit across the country. Two of England's biggest fertiliser plants in Teesside and Cheshire, which use CO2 to produce ammonium nitrate, which is then used by farmers for their crops, have shut down, leading bosses concerned over the potential consequences for family essentials. Well, it's not like family essentials are essential or anything. Bosses may be concerned, but you will be glad to know that the government are completely indifferent, as they are concentrating on who gets the taxpayer-funded palace at Chevening. Will it be angular, tetchy, humanoid Dominic Deckchair Raab, or will it be Looby Loo out of the Andy Pandy Show, who is our new head of comedy at the Foreign Office. Select. None of them, not one of them, is going to say that these problems exist, because that would mean that they would have to admit that Brexit is not working as they lied to us it would. So they're going to ignore the problem. They'll ramp up the distractions. They'll go dinghy spotting or arrest a crusty or enact some phony new law about dog napping that already exists. Fun fact, nicking someone's dog, already a crime, for which you can get 7 years. So all of that, we're going to make it illegal now, we're going to lock you away for 7 years. That was just another distraction. And people thought, thank goodness for that. It's going to be illegal to nick people's stuff. Thank you, Prissy Patel. What would we do without you? Just anything to distract and keep the eye off. And the intention must be to hope that the Brexit faithful keep believing in something that's falling apart before their very eyes. And so much now is based on keeping up that lie about sunny uplands and hoping that the gullible remained transfixed by the personality of the bodger.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
I mean, it really is that thin of an offering. It's a cabinet of no talents, of droids selected for their willingness to lie about one big idea, Brexit. And all underpinned by the supposed likability of the man at the top, who's been getting away with it his whole life because of his whole dishevelled act. Well, I think the act will start to wear thin when people can't get the food that they want and can't pay the bills, and Christmas is ruined because the shops are out of mega Death Star robot kill toys that little Johnny had set his heart on. Nick Allen, the chief executive of the British Meat Processing Association, said this could be the straw that broke the camel's back. Camel meat, by the way, tastes a bit like chicken. He said if you haven't got the CO2 supplies on the packaging side that reduces the shelf life of products going on the shelves at a time when we are really struggling because of the transport problems. Wow, that was a real jumble of words there, mate. He says this has come as a huge shock. It's happened so quickly. I think everyone is outraged in the industry that these fertiliser plants can shut down without any warning whatsoever and suddenly take something which is so essential to the food supply chain off-stream just like that. He says, we really need the government to step in now and do something. Yeah, that's what they'll do. They'll do something. They are doing something. They're planning their holidays and they're fighting over palaces and they're calling their mates on their private phones to do some deals, no questions asked. And they're rewarding themselves titles and honours for excellence in being themselves. What more do you want? In other news, the government has said there is absolutely no chance of us running out of gas, or the electricity supply failing, or the lights going out. So I'd get your candles and your torch batteries now while stocks last. Meanwhile, just as Jacob Smug did not say, prices are going up. Petrol prices have gone up. The price of food and drink in shops and supermarkets rose by 1.1% in August alone. That's the highest rate since 2008. Train fares, telephone and internet bills also increasing. And all this as Bodger's health and social care levy means that workers are going to have to pay an extra 1.25% in tax from next year. Not the rich, of course, because they don't get their money through wages, they get their money through assets. You know, like a quarter of all Tory MPs who are landlords. Their income will be unaffected. Only the little people pay taxes, not leprechauns. And on top of all that, there's also fears of hefty council tax rises on the way because that care levy on your national insurance isn't actually going to be spent on care. It's going to plug the hole in the NHS budget, which should have been taken care of by the £350 million a week that we were promised if we voted to leave the European Union. It's almost as though that bus and everyone who sat on it, stood by it, or promoted it, wasn't telling the truth. Liar! Oh, and insurance experts warn that premiums are going to rise in January. And all of that means that living in global Britain could cost average families an extra £132 a month, or £1,584 a year, which sounds like an excellent time to reduce the poorest people's universal credit. And I would say that as the poorest among us voted overwhelmingly for the Conservative Party at the last election by 44% to 32% for Labour, they knew what they were voting for. And they got it. In huge amounts. Can you imagine how happy they are? I bet they wake up laughing.